What's up, Darts here. I've been watching some TV, some new and old stuff, but we're going to concentrate on the BBC for some future uploads of some TV programs. And while these shows can be entertaining, I always seem to notice things that most people would just think nothing of. Something so simple as a handshake. Like this. Watch this.
So, an offer I couldn't refuse, really. Happy? Yeah, ecstatic. Good. No, it's good. It was an interesting journey.
I think Simon's got a good future with us. I think we'll do well together.
It is a product that requires logistics, it requires marketing, and it's expertise that I've already got within my own group of companies. So between me and Duncan, or Duncan and I...
Something real simple, real easy, real quick. Nothing major. This isn't the official show, this is the red button extra content. Watch this, watch this. It's as simple as a handshake. Watch. She puts her hand out, and he ignores her, shakes his hand, and then the TV show cuts. I find that quite interesting. So you'd clearly see that you'd shake the person's hand, which comes to you first, and she's also directly opposite him as well. But no, he's fully concentrating on Duncan. Fellow Mason, perhaps. There's a hand out. So, completely opposite. He's paying no attention whatsoever, reaches straight over to Duncan's hand, not interested in shaking Hilary Devey's hand. Interesting, huh? But I was watching I see that happen quite a lot, where at the end of the clip they'll focus on a handshake on the main show. And they do it also in the Ireland version of this, the Ireland Dragon's Den. They'll end on an obvious Masonic handshake. But I've made a little playlist of these BBC programmes where interesting, suspicious things have occurred, shall we say. So one of the places where I've seen a lot of this kind of suspicious interaction or questionable activity is in programmes about poverty, past and present, on the BBC and other networks. For example, well, I'll be going and breaking down several of these documentaries that focus on poor families and stuff like that. For example, on one of these programmes, this woman, African lady, British African, she's saying that she's desperate for food and has to use food banks. She split up with her husband or something like that, or and she has to use a food bank to feed her one little girl. The thing is, several times in that show, I'll go into great detail when I show it. She's, for example, eating a giant, or she's basically on Christmas saying, "Oh, I had to struggle so hard to get my daughter a decent Christmas, and get her food and a nice dinner." She's cooking an entire turkey for her and her child, and then saying that she has no money for food. Then another part, she's saying she's so desperate for food that she's going to cook 2 weeks of food and then sell it. Yeah. So she goes and cooks like 2 weeks worth of food and then goes and tries to sell it, and then goes to the food bank after cooking 2 weeks of food, saying she has no food. Then in another documentary, for example, this one father has a child, and he starts using the food bank, right? It's a Christian food bank. It's a Christian, evangelical Christian organisation, right? So anyway, long story short, this father starts befriending the person, the Christian leader running this organisation, right? But it turns out he was scamming. Basically, we'll have to go into more detail, but the whole thing looked like a scam, basically, like the cameraman, the scammer, and the head of the Christian Association or Christian charity, food charity, was in on it. Okay. But I'll go into more detail. I haven't got much data to go on it now, but I do see a lot of BS on these programs.